right. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Nice to
I
see
do
you.
hear you. Nice to see
We
you.
are we are live already, but before we go live, before we delve into the conversation we are going to discuss today or tonight, I want to first of all go through my usual uh, preamble, which is first and foremost to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto African Alumni Association operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron, Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many indigenous people from across the Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. My name is Henry Sully. Uh, we are coming to you, to your sitting rooms tonight with voices abroad. And I am delighted to let you know that I'm with my colleague here, Afande Momo. Of course, most of you know her as Afande Momo, but her name is Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, who is also the Nantebe of the Ugandan Boston community. She's going to be telling us what she's doing, what excites her, and why it's important to mobilize Ugandans in the diaspora, uh, what she's doing for them, what's her plan in the next couple of years as she continues uh, to lead and bring meaning to life abroad. Avande Momo, pleasure to meet you again. It's been a while. We haven't talked for a very long time. Ndi musanyufu nnyo okukulaba. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you so much. Great. I'm doing great. And thank you so much for having me on Voices Abroad. This is a beautiful forum that you have formulated so that we can hear ourselves and our communities, those who bring meaning to communities abroad. So I really, really congratulate you on such a beautiful job that you've done. I like this. I want to hear so many voices. You have so many community leaders out there, and we have people who lead the community leaders. So when you're bringing us together to air out how to improve our communities via this channel of yours, we are really delightful. So I go by the names of Morena Simwe Kalemba, as you have introduced me, also known as Afande Momo, commonly known as Afande Momo, and I hail here in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm actually sitting in the office of Uganda Boston Community Association, and that is where I've honored this first broadcast, so that it is honored in our offices.
Right. That's exciting. That's exciting. I hear there are so many things going on in the Boston community. Of course, I know that because I was there over the Easter weekend
Weekend. Mhm.
when you guys hosted the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter. You can tell us more about that.
Mm,
Besides the work that you do.
mm,
Uh, and I saw the vibrancy in there. I saw a few people coming to you and asking you a lot of questions. I'm going
mm.
to be trying to make Lugambo, asking what are some of your goals as a community leader? What are some of the challenges uh, you face as a community leader? But most importantly, what's your vision for Boston?
Mm,
So why don't we start with how the last couple of days have gone since the Easter weekend,
mm.
and then we shall delve into other conversations as we continue to learn more about you. Of course, I also want to njagala okuyozayoza Ssaabasajja Kabaka wa Buganda okutuuka ku amazaalibwa ge ag'enkaaga mu omwenda. Tuli basanyufu nnyo okubeera nti kabaka waffe ayozeyoze n'atuuka w'atuuse, era twongera okumuyozaayoza ate n'okubeera nga twongera omusabira asobole okwongera okutulamula obulungi. Avande Momo, sorry, that was a little bit of diversion, but an interesting and important diversion.
Do you know why I really even recommend it?
Yeah.
Because right now, as I was seated here, the We have the Gwangamuje Boston. They
Right.
the offices, and you see some pictures which I'll post uh, after here. And they
Right.
brought the picture of Salsaja and Navagireka to be hanged in the Uganda Boston community offices as an insignia of the birthday celebrations and of the Uganda culture here in Massachusetts. So really, you're not off, you are on topic, because we just
Right.
had the visitors who had come to see me prior to this broadcast.
Oh, that's why we are late, because and initially I was supposed to have this conversation earlier, but you
Yes.
told me why nina abagenyi
Yeah.
twogeremu ku ssaawa eziddako emabega.
Yes.
Regardless, I'm delighted to have you as always. Why don't you tell us what's going on in Boston?
So in Boston, we have an organization that has crowned 10 years. It was formulated in 2013. It's called the Uganda Boston Community Association. It's an association that embodies all Ugandan organizations and Ugandan members or bodies who reside here in Massachusetts. We have found that many people, even though they don't reside in Massachusetts, they want to be formulated to be part of, because we look at the New England area and we all feel like they're part of us. People who live in Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and I hear the people of Nebraska also want to belong. So we are really looking at our constitution to look at those people who live far out but they want to belong to our organization, how we can incorporate them into the organization. But that's the organization. It was formulated in 2013 by one and only emeritus as Geoffrey Simple Seriko Sekonde. And he has been the chairperson for the last 10 years, and he served 3 terms. Now it is my time to really move the mantle forward. And I came in 2022, August. So the next election of UBCA will be taking place August 2025. So here we go and say, who is UBCA? What are the benefits of UBCA? Why do we even think about UBCA? For us as a community, when we are sitting down, we said we should belong to one body. We
Right.
all have different community organizations, but there should be an umbrella for all. And that is Uganda Boston Community Association. So every association that is formulated in Massachusetts is part of Uganda Boston Community Association. And then ask the members, how do we benefit from this organization?
Right.
This organization was formulated mostly because we the transitioning or the immigrants came in here and we were stuck, and
Hmm.
we are trying to break down the mental health disorganization that happens, or the way of thinking that where should I start from?
Right.
When you look at where you're going to start from, we just don't want you to be stuck and depressed and lonely and just cover yourself somewhere and get lost. We want you to knock on our door. So we
Right.
formulated the office that you can call to help you
Home.
out,
Yeah.
redirect your path while here in United States or in Massachusetts.
So what
So,
I'm hearing, yeah. So
okay.
what I'm hearing from you
Mm,
is that as immigrants, as Ugandan immigrants in the diaspora,
mm,
you came together to create a community that
mm,
brings people together to avoid isolation. Because ewaffe gye tukulira e Uganda, we know this Ubuntu oba community, being in a community, tukulira mu communities where when you come to the diaspora, specifically when you come to the US,
mm.
there's this concept of individualism,
Yeah.
which is aligned with capitalism as well, right?
Mm,
Abantu balowooza nti nze kati ngenda kimakinga the American dream is a
mm,
one-man mission.
yeah,
What you're trying to demystify is that you don't have to suffer alone. You don't have to walk alone.
yeah,
We are building a community for you. And of course, you said Mr. Simple was the inaugural
mm,
president
yeah.
of the
They call
organization.
him the vision bearer. He
The
was the
vision.
vision bearer of the organization. Yeah, we would love you to walk alone. We don't even tell somebody that you shouldn't walk alone, but we tell you to remember community.
Right.
because we found that those who want to walk alone, at the end of the day, there's a time they would need community. So they will still come down and find us. So we want you to find us when we are more organized, more upfront, more dedicated, and more into people. You know, we want to come into people. We don't want to lead from above. We want to lead with the people. So we
With
are
the people.
getting, yeah, we want to be embracing networking together with our people so that we don't look at leadership as somebody who is out there unapproachable. We want
Right.
approachable leaders because we're in a community no one knows. Even the leaders may not be knowing nothing. They don't know everything. But when you
Of course.
network, when you intermingle, you find that you're going to find something that you never heard of and another person has experienced or gone through and will teach you. So that is the community we are building. We are networking so that we can beat the obstacles or the challenges that we meet in a foreign country.
Why don't you tell us what are some of the challenges you have encountered as a leader? And I know there must be many of them, right? What are some of those challenges? How have you managed to mitigate some of those challenges?
The first challenge I found as a leader was when I had just sworn into power. I found the challenge of my other opponent who I ran with accepting the position that I attained and she never attained. So that was some of the challenge I first found. But as time went on, we had to embrace that and know that, you know what, you have to accept what has come out of an election because there's a winner and a loser. So
Right.
that challenge took some time. People were coming to divide themselves. But nowadays, I see that everybody is bridging back. They're all meaningful to have a unison. And so we are not looking at divisions anymore like it was in the beginning. The next challenge I found was when I had a visitor, a political visitor in my midst. Uh, People were telling me I should have closed the door for the political visitor. And I said, I can't close a door as a community for anybody because the laws that govern the land cannot allow us to discriminate anybody.
Right.
However much we feel offended by that person, we cannot do it. And another thing is that that person came on a tribal base when he's looking at the conventions that happening via our tribes. So if
Mhm.
I had shut down that person, I would have shut down a whole tribe. There are very many people who belong to that tribe, the Banyachigezi. So there's no way I would turn the Banyachigezi down when they have the leader who, for them, they entrusted to come into the community. So I had to
So,
embrace
so
that.
in essence, what you're trying to explain here is that that leader, I believe it was Jim Muhwez who came
Mhm.
to visit your office, but
Yeah,
he didn't come as Jim Muhwez, the honorable coming from Uganda, but he
mhm.
came as a member of the Banyachigezi, uh,
True.
established in Boston, in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah, they
Uh,
had their convention here, and
right,
through their convention, they were able to have more delegates. A lot of
right.
delegates came who were government delegates at the same time opposition delegates, but they all came and sat down under one umbrella. So I liked that dialogue because difference in opinion does not make one an enemy of you. You need to learn to dialogue despite the fact that you do not agree or cannot sit on the same table, but allow yourself to sit on the same table and hear the views of different people. So I believe in dialogue, and I was always looking at dialogue when I'm discussing with him. And I felt like if we come together to always discuss things, we would achieve more than always to come together to just rip each other apart.
Why don't we talk about the idea of incorporating members from other jurisdictions?
Mm,
If, for example, because during the Easter weekend, I talked to you about signing up to become a member of your community. What are some of the challenges, right, that you're facing right now in incorporating people like me who want to become members of your community or paying members of your community so that I can engage in the voting process, as I saw 2 days ago when you're conducting an election that uh, was supposed to decide an important decision regarding increasing membership fees. How are you engaging in those conversations, and who is responsible for modifying those policies that govern your organization?
I want to tell you, we have a lot to really modify. And we want to start with modifying our own constitution. But there are
Mm,
some of the things in the constitution that needs even to be modified even before we get to the AGM. One of the things we made in January when we began the year, we were able to elect the board of trustees and board of directors. And our board of directors were able to vote and say they will become our electoral commission people, because
mm,
that will be their job, to direct into the electoral elections of the community and to direct where the trustees are lacking or are not able to do so, and also to direct where the executive or the people who have been elected have gone astray.
mhm,
So we were able to do that in January via a leadership meeting. So the leaders who were on that call, on that Zoom call, made those decisions and we were able to move forward. I made an email to most of the leaders, and those who were able to turn up were able to do that. So that was a checkup which we've done and we have finished. In February, we always have the education day. And in
right.
education, we are able to have Madame Nampera, who is a principal, and Madame Patricia, who is also a teacher in a private school, and other people who have had Mr. Kaungu, who had children in the charter schools, all come up and tell us about the challenges in application of those private and charter schools plus public schools, the
Mm,
expectation of our children if they enter these schools, and how we would use the teacher conference centers or parent conference centers or any other mechanism to bring up our
right.
children in education world. So when we finished that, we went into the Mother's Day. And during that time, before January to March, we were conducting the mental health awareness training. Why?
Mhm,
We found that mental health is a biggest challenge, especially for us immigrants. All of us are mentally challenged. The mere fact that you come here and you don't know anybody and you have to adapt into a system, there and then you have a mental challenge. So we
right.
decided to start training on mental health awareness because we found that most of our youth, that the ones especially who come from here,
Yeah,
from our home country, come up and face those challenges, and are able to not cope with our environment. So we have to bring in those counseling, mentorship, and to see which rehabilitation homes should take them small group settings and be able to conduct those counseling groups, which would help out our young ones or mid adults or adults on where
right.
their challenge is. So we moved into which is the Mother's Day, the Women's Day, which is in March. We did the
Yeah,
March Women's Day, and we really congratulated those ladies who are into community to help out. We congratulated a lady who helped out in the sports world, whereby she chauffeurs children plus parents to their sports grounds if they do not have any means to get their children to sports. That mother is dedicated for that, and also makes small youth conferences in her home for the young challenged adults to know how to cope in our
right.
environment, because
So,
they are.
in other words, what you're trying to explain here is that you look at members in your community,
Mhm.
figure out things they have done and things that they are doing really well. And
Yes.
you celebrate them because you want to encourage them to do more of the good
To
things that
encourage
build community.
others to come up also and get onto the wagon.
Right,
We are telling you that it's possible. If I can do it, any other person can do it. We don't want you to look at, oh, that person is holy as thou, is the only person who can do it. No, we are encouraging every woman, every father, every young adult that if I can make it, you can make
right,
it. But most people would think, I don't know how. So we are teaching you how in our community so that We are not one more, only one Afande Momo, but there are several Afande
More,
Momos.
several. Right, right,
We are trying to create a situation where there's several simples, the vision bearers, where there are
right.
several people who come, the Henry Sallies, very many. We are trying to get that notion of beating down on monopoly, but make it
Right.
more, broaden the scope so that it can come up and get a lot of people to join. So
Mhm.
anyway, I'm going back to, I have to reach where we have the principles of adding you, the people outside the state. So I'm trying to let you know that when we finished that, we found that many people in different diaspora states want to be part of Uganda Boston Community Association.
Right.
This was something I talked about in my inauguration speech, that we want to create like small districts. Okay.
Mhm.
For us in here in Massachusetts, we have the Suffolk, Norfolk, Middlesex, Assabet, name it, So we want to create those small districts, and people who head those districts, they have to
Mhm.
come. And then these ones, when we have finished formulating ourselves, we are able to say, those ones now who are outside the state, of state, how do they get into us? They're going to form chapters in
Okay.
different things. A chapter in Canada, a chapter in Miami, Maine, a chapter in Vermont, a chapter. Why? They still affiliate with us, and whatever their money is, it's like donations. They make that donation that is counterintuitive, that is going to make a meaning
Right.
into our voting process. That even when we can ask for an alibi, we call it an alibi, that hey, what is Canada thinking if we decide to go this route? Canada may say through your voice that, oh, that route, I feel like you guys were gonna be not productive in that area. And then we would say, okay, through what the members were saying and our chapters and our affiliates, we are finding that this is how we should be going. So we are looking at making them chapters and affiliates, and
Right.
we're looking at getting them into the voting process via via the support of the membership,
Yeah.
because
So,
membership
have
is
you? I
mostly
guess what I'm curious about
in
is
Massachusetts.
I guess what I'm curious about is whether you have actually made consultations among your core membership right now, and what they think about that idea of incorporating chapters from elsewhere other than Boston, Massachusetts. How are the conversations unfolding regarding that?
I would say that I'm going to go back to say it
Okay.
again, because I
Right.
did it last year, but I never conducted a poll. But
Yeah.
I found that last year many people were saying whether yes or no we want to belong. That's something that
That,
everybody was voicing.
that is true.
And
I do want
then,
to belong.
yeah,
Of
and
what
then
you
the members were like, let's first get ourselves organized, more organized. Yes, we are organized, but they want more legitimacy, more
more
boundaries,
structures. Yeah.
more structures,
Right.
because they feel like if you include many people, we are blowing it out of the small bubble, yet the small bubble is not yet properly
Solid.
aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to first align ourselves properly through. That's one of my biggest takeaways that I want to leave for UBC: alignment, structure, so that we get that. Yes, we had a foundation, but we are building onto our foundation. That first layer should be more solid, so that when we get on to get everybody on board, we're not shaking at the bottom.
Right. Well, we have about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. I want this because this is a soft launch of the voices abroad. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking more about the voices of abroad and why it's important for us to have these conversations with the community leaders,
Mm.
interrogating or understanding the Ugandan community through the lens of community leaders. Today, we have Afande Momo, the leader of the Ugandan community in Boston. trying to tell us a little bit of what she's doing. She'll be coming back next weekend to give us the broader perspective of how the Boston community operates and why it's important for diaspora communities to come together and build these kinds of communities. I have one last question that I need you to interrogate a little bit, and this is in regard to the culture, or you would say cultural preservation. You just told me a little while ago nti ofunye abagenyi okuva mu ggwanga mujje Boston bakuletedde ebifaananyi bya Ssaabasajja bagenda okuteeka mu community office ya Boston. What are some of the strategies you are making to build cultural preservation? And when I say cultural preservation, I'm specifically referring to the Ugandan cultures. Even though we have diverse cultures within the Ugandan context, because I know waliwo Banyakigezi nga bw'oyogedde ku Banyakigezi awo, waliwo Gwanga mujje Boston, waliwo ne other communities, of course, that have different cultures but identify as Ugandans. What are some of the strategies you are doing to elevate cultural preservation in the Boston community?
Thank you so much, Mr. Henry Sally. I would want to say this, that this is PV and passion to me to see that our cultures are preserved. Why? Because that's what makes us unique. We are in a land where everything of theirs is in the English way, or American way. So for us to come up with our gomeses, our kanzus, our, habayas, whatever, I had them the other day, the Muslim outfit, the iteso. So I decided to formulate an organization where it has to embody all organizations, remember? And I told you that this organization brings in everybody, from the young stakeholder to the biggest there is. So with our culture, we bring in the Itesot culture. In fact, it has the conference here. Right. And what we want to preserve their culture. We are working hand in hand with them to really broadcast it so that it can bring out what we love from the Itesot culture. Okay. Then we come into the culture of Luo. Luo the other time was planning to have a barbecue, with so that it can teach our people all about the Luo culture. We have the Torah Association. It's coming this May. It's gonna be in our community. It's the second time it's being held in our community. So we are seeing that it's bringing more of the Torah culture and learning more of the Torah, the empacos and the likes, what the dress codes, why we need to be associating with our friends of the Torah, what good thing do we understand out of it from the Torah, what basics do we negate from the Torah, all that. So our organization is partnering or networking with that. You see, it's bringing the biggest convention, which is still the biggest in the diaspora. That's what I always say, because I find it as the most well attended and well meaningful. That's the Buganda Bumu in 2025 in May.
Okay. Yeah.
It's bringing the Ankole. The Ankole is coming in July in Boston. You see, all these conventions are taking place in Boston because Boston, we are the hub of that culture. We love to preserve what we have, our own. And we have the biggest population. So that population is moving ideas and mountains and bringing in the cultural norms. We are teaching the children, our children, where they hail from. My children now know how to greet in Luganda. There's no way their grandparent is going to be talking to them and they say, we don't understand. At least you distinguish between a man and a woman, sebo and nyabo, So those things, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, are being answered in Luganda. You anji nyabo, anji sebo. I love to hear that, I love to hear how to greet in a different language or culture, how to pay respects when they are honoring certain days, like we are honoring the Kabaka birthday and see the Kabaka run, those are the things that we are introducing. Why is there a tribe in what, in Buganda, and who belongs to your tribe? Why don't you eat a certain thing? You know,
Yeah.
why
Right.
wouldn't you marry from a certain tribe? All those things are brought through the camps, you know, and the way a woman is supposed to greet, how way a man is supposed to embrace a woman, how to keep marriage vows, you know, and stuff. There's a lot. So when we as a community are embracing culture, we find that is one of our biggest mentors we should be running with. It's the biggest baton, because everybody has a different culture, and these are the cultures that form our community as one.
Right.
Mm.
Well, that was well articulated. I wanted to hear more about that. Those pictures that are going to be hung in your office.
Yeah, oh, the pictures. I'm super, super excited about the pictures. I'm telling you, that was the biggest, surprise they made to me. I thought about them and I said, oh, I should have gotten my gomesi and also dressed up in a gomesi to honor,
Right.
the Buganda culture, because that's my mom's culture. And, I love it so much. My children's culture is Buganda culture. So really, Buganda have a very, very essential part in my human being as Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, because that is where I really have a bigger portion of my livelihood. I grew up in Buganda. I went to Buganda schools, the Budo, the Nabisunsas, the Kibuli. So those are the things within the Buganda. So Buganda has had a very, very big percentage on my life than actually where I hail from in the Bunyoro. But I love our Bunyoro. It's sweet. You know, when I talk about the Bunyoro, I find the Charlie comes into play. You know, the
Right.
Charlie, because we just talk about that easiness. We don't,
Right.
we're like, we don't fight, we don't mingle. We're easy. We're easy. We know what we are. We are royals, back to back. You know.
That's very, very well said. Thank you so much again for joining us. This
I
is a
just had
soft,
one thing to talk about. If you don't mind, I may take
yeah, for sure, for
like
sure, for
another
sure.
5 minutes of your time. I
Yeah.
wanted to let my community know that we're having a big event coming on. I'm super, super excited about it. It's about mothers. We have Mother's Day coming on, which is May 12th. And we're going to formulate a generational mothers. We want to see those generational mothers, whereby my mother, myself, my son, my son's child, or somebody, that generation, that chain that brings us together. I want to see it in community. And I see that mother who has supported like 5 children to go through high school, college, and have made it in the world. I want to see that mother. So we're going to honor those mothers with a bouquet of flowers, or a flower each when they're entering into the hall we will be station them for. But at the same time, we're still with our investment project, which is our land, and we are big
Right.
on that too. And we have more methods and means that we will talk about as we continue our program, when we are talking about what's happening in Boston. So the land will come back in the next segment, and we will talk about actual investment and how we think about this land and how it should be articulated to community. Other communities love to invest in it. We want to welcome them. However, we have to first start with our community. Everything starts with us before we put it out there. We first failed to do it and then broaden it out. So we ask people to attend the Mother's Banquet. It's going to be May 12th at $80 per adult, and then the young ones will have $50. But we just want to enjoy ourselves, enjoy on mothers, enjoy our way of fellowshipping together, and recognize that diaspora mother who has had it all and who is seeing us into the next Mother's Day.
Thank you so much again for sharing that. Of course, you will be coming back next weekend to tell us more about the Ugandan Boston community. My
Yes.
name is Henry Sally. It will be a disservice not just to the Voices Abroad, which is a new initiative that you're going to be engaging in, bringing together diaspora community members to tell us about what they are doing in their communities. What are some of the strategies they are using to bring their communities together. There is a lot that we are going to be talking about. Today we had the inaugural conversation, of course, with Afande Momo, the chairperson, of the Uganda Boston Community Association. With that being said, there's also Luga Fest Toronto, which is going to happen in Toronto. And this is also about cultural diversity for all those who are interested in learning more about Luganda, the role of language in succeeding in business, creating business, both back home and in the diaspora, the connection between faith and the language, business and language, culture and language, and how it actually fits into the Canadian cultural dispensation. These are all conversations that we are going to engage in, and we invite you to come and join us. Add your voice to the conversation, learn more about what is being built, not just behind the scenes, but at the center of the conversation. I am very excited for what we have in store, and I hope you are excited to learn more about what we are doing in various diaspora communities through the Voices Abroad. Are you a leader in the diaspora? Do you think there's a conversation you can add to the Voices Abroad? Would you want to be part of this very incredible conversation? Please join us on Voices Abroad and share what you're doing in your community. 35 minutes, 36 minutes. I think that's enough. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And see you next Sunday again with Afande Momo, giving
Yes.
us everything that we need to know about the Boston community. Any final remarks before we close, Afande Momo?
And the final remarks is that I thank you that when we mention certain things, you put them into, action. I like action leaders. I just don't want somebody who talk and then leave something out there. I wanted so much for us in the diaspora to start having that voice where we would, or platform where we would voice out what our intentions are, because we elect leaders and then see them again on another election when they're asking for more term. But when we ask them, what have you done? They have nothing to voice out. So maybe in voicing, they would tell us what they are doing and be able to really think about how to get ourselves moving. So thank you for mapping this. For us leaders, this is like a check balance and accountability way for leaders to learn to do things so that when called upon to really talk about their legacy or their line of work, they're able to articulate properly and put it on paper or onto a broadcast. Thank you so much. I thank everybody for listening to us. We'll be back next weekend, as he has said, and we will move these voices abroad to a better,
To a different level, All
yeah.
right. Of course, we are here to serve the community, and always delighted to have a chat with you. And I hope to see you next week in a more enthusiastic way of
Vigorous.
sharing. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much again. Have a
You
nice
come
one.
out. You too have
Right.
a good one. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Right.